Hi guys, welcome to the show. So in this week's episode, we're going to be looking at how we rank Phase 1 Marvel movies. And we're going to start off with Iron Man 1.
This is probably the film that I've watched the most, and this is the film that I've repeatedly gone back to as well because it's such a nice, easy watch.
It has a relatively simple plot. The villain isn't fantastic, but
That's a running theme with all the Iron Man ones, to be honest.
at the end of the day, you're watching because of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I just want to bring up one thing about Iron Man, in particular with the rest of the films we're going to discuss. It's the best casting film. As in, they could not have found a better Tony Stark personally.
No. I mean, if even you can go through the list, and I know that John Krasinski was rumored for Captain America, but
Really?
and you can sort of probably swap
Yeah.
him with Chris Evans. I mean, that's no disrespect to Chris Evans, but
Yeah,
I mean, you can't find another Tony Stark now that you've watched all three films. It's impossible to replace Iron Man.
I think one of the big things about particularly Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal is that obviously Iron Man's a really flawed character, and he's just he's a borderline he is an alcoholic in quite a few issues. He's sinned the worst, and that's great because Robert Downey Jr. is a massive, he was a massive druggie, and he has been through a lot of stuff. Oh, fun note as well. Once spoilers for the six people who
Just bear in mind, in this episode, if you haven't watched movies from 2008, this is not the episode for you.
When Stark gets rescued from the desert, and he's eating a Burger King on his way back home.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Robert Downey Jr.'s turning point, he was on a massive Coke binge, and he went to Burger King. And allegedly, he went up and ordered a... Oh, what's the burger? What's the big brother from Burger King? Like the Royale or something?
Like the Whopper.
The Whopper. Yeah, he had a Whopper, and he was just thinking, what the hell's going on with my life?
So,
What's going on? And when these films were coming out as well, Burger King had promotional rights to toys for kids meals. So
semi-autobiographical.
you could say that, yeah.
So looking back on that film now that we've had, I think, 12 other films, would you say that is... Boring is a strong word, but it's quite a simple film when you look at the ones we've had before. So in retrospect, obviously when it came out, fantastic. But in retrospect, as we're ranking with all the other Phase 1 films, would you say it's oversimplified, or doesn't have that wow factor that some of the other ones have?
To be honest, I was thinking about that, and it's weird looking back on it because I don't know if you've ever compared the CG from Iron Man 1 to, say, Age of Ultron, but it holds up surprisingly well. There's just not as much of it.
The thing you can say about it is it's a solid start to a solid phase, and the thing is, it's funny, which is a fantastic recurring theme.
Yeah,
especially towards the end of Phase 2, but we'll get onto that in a second.
We'll definitely get onto that. It certainly holds up, and I'd say it's my favourite Iron Man, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I would definitely say, because it's the safest. It doesn't do anything that ridiculous, although Obadiah is a bit of a weak villain.
Yeah.
But
you're not watching it because of that, thankfully.
No, I'm not watching any of these films for the villain, to be honest.
Okay, so Iron Man's smack bang in the middle now. So
yeah, Iron Man's the bar. Also, I want to say one thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the way that it's been laid out. It's really nice seeing that this first film doesn't ram down your throat that this is going to be an extended universe, because
the only thing we see is at the end with Nick Fury.
Yeah,
so
and that doesn't mean much to the people who just went in to go see an Iron Man film. That's that was the beginning of having a lot of people stay over for the magnificent post-credit scene. And of course, obviously, a lot of people who are into Iron Man and into the Avengers at the time just absolutely freaked out and thought, "Oh my God, we're going to get an Avengers film.
This is the start of something.
This is the sign of something much bigger and much grander."
Okay, so I don't think this is going to be too difficult, but now we're going to rank the Incredible Hulk against Iron Man.
It sucks. On to Iron Man 2.
No, I mean, okay.
Why is it not Eric Banner playing the Hulk instead?
No, it's actually my favourite Hulk film.
To be honest, you haven't got much of a choice, really.
So, yeah.
Okay.
No, I have actually written some things down about this. And
all right.
it's an okay film, but
Yeah, let's get the out of the way, people.
if you take every Phase One film out of the equation, no, not everyone. Okay, not everyone, but most of them. If you take most of Phase One and general films around that time out of the equation, it's an okay action film. But the thing is, when you look at Iron Man, which came out I think 2 months before,
was it really 2 months?
I
before?
think so.
Yeah.
Which you've just said all these good things about, then it's a very forgettable film in that sense.
So forgettable. I've even forgot who played Bruce Banner.
Edward Norton.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. When you've got Tim Roth and Edward Norton in a film, that's a pretty cool combination.
It was good. I'm not going to deny that I had fun. I had a relative amount of fun with it. It's just that if you, there's only so far I think you can go with the Hulk in terms of a film.
It was kind of a simple plot as well, because essentially they took him as the white whale.
Yeah.
They wanted to capture him because he was government property or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, it's then you get Tim Roth as this military guy, and as essentially as Moby Dick or whatever that white whale thing comes from.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, it's relatively simple. I mean, the CG looks okay, apart from the Abomination, which is like.
Isn't he meant to look like that though?
Yeah, but it's just it's not the villain you want really.
To be honest,
if you want Hulk against someone like Hulk, do Hulk against Hulk. There's so many stories that have done that before. I mean, yes, it's complex for another reboot of the Hulk, but at least do something like that to at least challenge people, rather than just this. What is going to be a common theme in the Marvel universe is this big dramatic action sequence, which is fairly forgettable.
Yeah, to be honest as well, playing devil's advocate here, you probably don't want to set up something like, you don't want him to fight against Red Hulk. For example, you don't want him to fight up against a character who's got a lot of backstory. You sort of just want a...
That is true as well.
You want a monster of the week, just because, they're still setting the groundwork for him, because they need to get his character right. And another running theme across all these films is that typically, this is worse in Phase 2, I think. You'll get a lot of good character development for the first 2 acts, and then it's all forgotten in the where it is just an action fest, which has its advantages. Some of the films definitely do it better than others.
It depends on the setting. And when you do it in the same setting again and again and again, then it gets kind of old pretty quickly.
Yeah. I'm going to say something controversial. I still think I like Ang Lee's Hulk more than this.
Well, you can think on that when you're on your own. So
I saw that. I watched that again.
Some opinions are right, and some of them are. Well, some of them are jacks.
Everyone has the right to a wrong opinion. I watched that fairly recently, and aside from the Hulk being the most hideous color of green, like the literal worst color possible,
he can jump into space. It's just no. Anyway, okay. So where are we putting that?
I think obviously below Iron Man. We've only got one comparison yet, but definitely below Iron Man.
A considerable distance below, but not maybe as far as some people might put it.
Yeah, because especially seeing as he miraculously morphed into another actor.
Yeah,
he does such a much better. So he suddenly turned into Mark Ruffalo.
Thankfully,
yeah.
Okay, so next is Iron Man 2. No, I have some controversial opinions on this, which we'll get to when we rank it.
Okay, I said earlier about how I tended to go back and watch Iron Man 1. Do you have those films where, no matter what stage it's on, like, you load up Sky or whatever, and it doesn't matter.
Other TV providers are available.
And it doesn't matter what stage of the film it's in, whether it's the first 5 minutes or the last half hour, you'll sit and watch it. For the longest time, Iron Man 2 was one of those ones to me. I ended up just watching it a lot. And
do you think you've seen it too much then? Because it's so familiar.
Yeah, I don't need to. When I was looking back at the films I'm going to watch for the sake of this discussion, Iron Man 2 was not one of them. Because... Alright, okay, you say your opinions first. I've got mine.
I have one question. Is it... Do you not want to watch it because it's a bad film, or because you know it too well?
I know it too well, and a lot of there's other better films out there now.
Okay, so this movie has some issues with pacing.
Yeah,
Like when okay, the Monte Carlo scene with Whiplash is a really cool action sequence, and after that you sort of expect it to lull and then build again into
and then
another.
that lull keeps on going.
But then you expect it to build into this big crescendo, and then you think it's ended, but then it hasn't, and then all of a sudden you've got this again this ridiculous action sequence at the end,
Yeah,
which I think the movie is probably about 20 minutes too long for what it is.
it's like a standard running length, isn't it? It's not even 2 hours, I think.
It feels longer because
Yeah.
they with Whiplash and with whichever character Sam Rockwell plays,
Yeah.
the cravat person.
Yeah.
They're sort of deciding which villain to go with, and they never can, which is fine if they tell that story properly. But it's not when they all of a sudden make Whiplash Sam Rockwell's sort of whipping boy essentially.
Good joke.
And at the end, it just doesn't really make sense to me, and it's just off.
I really, really dislike that they sort of reuse the same villain idea where, hello, I'm X person that your dad
Yeah.
screwed over, and I'm going to be using your weapons against you.
It's the consequences of Iron Man again, but done worse.
Yeah. Also, this is a bit of a fault with the series of Iron Man in general, because I really don't think Iron Man has got that much of a definitive villain. Because even
But
like,
it has so many. It's because since it's been around since 60s, 70s.
and if you want to stay true to those roots, you can't just have him fighting communists.
Yeah.
Because that's all he did in the back during the Cold War. He just fought communists.
But since
And people say Captain America, is just a raging Republican.
But since there's such a great backstory, it does make it difficult to choose what villain you're going to go with, what general plot you're going to go with. So there is that excuse for the movie, but as we've said, there are issues with those excuses. Well, one thing that did come from this is the correct War Machine,
Yeah.
which is I'm not saying they got the casting wrong in the first film, but this one is really really spot on. And the dynamic he has with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
really shows through, which is one of the endearing things that I think coming from this film.
Yeah, I appreciated the bit where he crashes Tony's party.
Yeah,
That bit is actually probably
Yeah.
my highlight of the film, along with Whiplash's introduction, and also throwing Black Widow for some reason.
yeah, I feel sorry for her because she is in a lot of these films. She's in The Winter Soldier a bit more, thankfully, but she's in a lot of these films in bit parts, and it really doesn't seem fair to the character to tell her story over that many years, whereas other characters just get essentially 2 to 3 movies.
Oh God, we'll get to her story when we get to Age of Ultron.
That is true.
That is very, very true.
And so, I'm okay. I want to put Iron Man 2 below Hulk.
Really?
Yeah. It does more wrong than the Hulk, but then the Hulk doesn't do a lot right. If you do you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is a case of lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Once again, we're not slating these films either. It's just that
No, I mean,
these are still
watch them again.
These are still perfectly fine and watchable films. They fit well into the overall story. It's just that
Hindsight is a powerful thing in this context.
I think I would agree with you on Iron Man 2 because it's one of the few films I think you can afford to just not watch.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from War Machine, which is like good and there's a good amount of banter.
Yeah, that's the only good thing we've said about this film.
So, the special effects are nice.
Yeah. So where would you put it?
I'll put it below Hulk.
Okay.
So
That's that. In the post-credit scene, we meet the God of Thunder. I'm an absolutely huge fan of Thor.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get that out of the way with first.
I was going to say, you belligerent fanboy,
Yeah.
just go ahead and talk about it.
I read a whole series of Thor comics before this film came out, and this film delivered. So on my list, it's not first, but the 4 films that we're going to talk about now. So 3 films we're going to talk about now are very interchangeable for me.
I went to this film with literally no expectations.
And what did you come out with?
I enjoyed it to a certain degree.
Why didn't you enjoy it to the full?
Okay, I liked that they did the Thor as a bratish, not snobbish, but arrogant kind of guy.
Yeah, he literally got brought back down to earth. If you
Yeah,
know what I mean, in both
that was a
cases.
good idea.
Yeah.
That was good. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the casting as well.
Mm.
Wouldn't say as good as
Okay, one thing about the casting is, do you think Dr. Foster was portrayed as she should have been?
I'm not too familiar with the comics as
Okay,
you are.
okay, so forget that question. Was Natalie Portman the right person to play her?
No, I think anyone could. I think anyone could have.
Yeah,
Anyone could have done her part to an equal degree. You could have put in Keira Knightley,
but
and it would have had a bit of an equal measure.
on the other side of that, you've got Kat Dennings, which I think is one of the performances of Thor 1 and
Oh.
Thor 2. She's just
Oh,
she lights up the film for me. Really, really.
of all the comic reliefs, oh my god!
I,
Some bits I'm just outright cringing.
Really?
Yep. I'm not. It's like what did this film need? Cat fucking. Ugh.
okay, I think we have to agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, that's
Because I sort of, I'm not a massive fan of like the whole like mug throwing stuff of like Thor doesn't understand Earth and stuff. I mean, okay,
yeah.
fine, you include it for a bit of laughs, but then I think it works much better with when she's either instigating it or on the end of those like fairly cheap laughs. In fairness,
That sort of fish out of water story works for this film and this film alone. But also, I've got to comment the environment design. That's the thing which I really, really don't think gets enough mention.
that panning shot of when they sort of essentially flying up to the main building in Asgard, that was the moment of Phase 1 for me.
Really,
It was everything I wanted, and then going into the interiors and the costumes of the Warriors 3 and Sif and Heimdall's costume is just phenomenal.
Heimdall's the best character in Thor, I think.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, I certainly put him up there.
He's definitely the most interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about them villains.
But the Destroyer.
Yeah.
And, well, I suppose Loki is still a villain.
In retrospect, we're going to consider him a villain
Yeah.
for the sake of it.
It's the same job that Iron Man did for me. They have a fairly low-key villain in the Destroyer. What?
Loki.
I don't mean to do these things.
He doesn't mean to be funny, people. God.
I'm not normally.
Yeah.
And it's the same situation. It's not the villain. It's not his character. He doesn't speak. It's just a lump of metal. It's how you defeat it. The character interactions in that moment, and it did in that sense. It did a justice to the Warriors 3 and Sif, but the rest of the film, I would have really liked to see that interaction a bit more.
Yeah, because the moment when he reunites with his mates,
Yeah.
that was quite a heartwarming moment. I think the best thing they did was get rid of his power, because obviously on the scale of useless to OP, Thor's pretty much only behind Hulk, barely. So that was a good idea, making him earn his power back. But I'd watch it again, but I'm not interested in his character as much, because there's a lot more they probably could have done with it.
Does that not make you more interested though?
It makes me more interested in reading the comics and finding a lot more about him.
So you don't. I accept slightly that they didn't do justice to his. I mean, there's so many things that they changed from the origin of Thor. I mean, you can go on that for hours, but from what they did with Chris Hemsworth, I think the simplification of the Thor character was probably a good idea. Yet they missed out a lot of things that go along with the comic books. The one thing that actually I think I melted slightly in Thor when he said this, it was the perfect line for what I wanted from this film, and it's a paraphrase, but he essentially said, in Natalie Portman saying about how where he comes from, it seems magical to her, and he says, where I come from, science and magic are one and the same. I just went, wow. I don't think this film has, apart from the casting issues that we talked about and perhaps the humour issues that you have, there's not major problems.
So where are we going to rate this? Well, I know where you're going to rate it.
For me, Iron Man 1 and Thor, and the ones we're going to cut to, the Avengers and Captain America, are very interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
But I would put Thor above Iron Man 1, which is top of our list at the moment. And next is Captain America.
Yay! Now we get to talk about the one I fanboy over a lot.
Oh, I watched this yesterday. I enjoyed it so much.
I just want to start this by saying when I first watched this film, I hated it.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
I thought it was too slow.
Okay, yeah.
Because you've gone from, let's literally consider the order. You've got Iron Man, great action film. Hulk 2, sorry, Hulk, and then Iron Man.
No, there's no Hulk 2.
No,
Don't worry.
good. Then Hulk and Iron Man, all of them have great set pieces, and then you have Captain America, which is a straight up war film. So I didn't know whether I was willing to accept it to start off with.
It does it so well.
God,
that's the setting of World War II in America and in Europe is fantastic, and then when they get to the Hydra facility, the amount of that jumps out of the pages of the comic books that they then put on the screen with the weapon design, the costume design, it's so good.
I want to praise
the base in the side of the mountain.
Yeah,
how cool is
evil
that?
there. I really want to praise the obviously they've got a massive workaround with Cap because being frozen in a block of ice. There's no way you can get around
you can't
that.
explain that.
So rather than try and have him be in the war and then spend the rest of the film building up, how he deals with the real world, because we already did that with Thor, fish out of water scenario. But with Captain America, I'm really happy they just made a war film.
Yeah, they stuck in the 40s for the most part.
Yeah, they stuck in the 40s and they did everything. They did it great for the first bit. Although the one thing that still doesn't sit right with me is Steve Rogers before he goes under the treatment.
Yeah,
just because his head is so massive.
I was wondering, do you know how they did that? Because
No.
I have no idea whether they took a year off filming to make him bulk up, or if they use CGI.
It has to have been
I
CGI.
have no idea. It's so good.
One thing I also want to say is that each film has its own distinct flavour. That this is before this formula got old as well. This is back when everything was still really hype and exciting. Iron Man, you have got that sort of, not science fiction, but that sort of tech and gadget kind of film. Thor, you have got the mythical, mystical. Cap, you just got a straight up action superhero film. And a war film as well, with that as well.
Yeah.
Hulk, you've just got an okay film.
Yeah, it's a film.
Yeah.
We'll call it that.
Now we're about to get to the biggest and dumbest of all funds, I think.
Yeah, so Cap at the top of the list for you as well?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So
Definitely.
the last in Phase 1 is Avengers.
Okay. So, go on, tell me your opinion first. I'm looking forward to this.
It is solid. It doesn't use... I don't think it uses too many characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it dilutes Scarlet Witch as much as...
Scarlet Witch?
Oh, sorry. Black Widow as much as...
I get them confused too.
Black Widow as much as I think you think it dilutes her. It does a good job with her. And the relationship with her and the Hulk, which then gets extended in Ultron, I think works well. And it's a nice sort of setting for that.
Yeah. I think that Robert Downey Jr. gets like a really small minority.
Yeah.
To be honest, he's had 2 films under his belt, and he's the breakout star out of all this.
His interaction with Mark Ruffalo is pretty cool as well.
That's the thing I really liked about this as well. That one of the problems about making this film was how they're going to interact, because in the comics they all just meet up and they're instantly like, "Hey, we should form a league together."
There's one thing you're forgetting.
What?
That God and Savior Joss Whedon wrote this film.
Indeed. And if there's one guy who can pull all these ridiculous amounts of characters together, it's him, our Lord and Saviour.
All hail Joss Whedon.
I like that they pay attention not only to let's not also forget the second coming of Bruce Banner as well with Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, you sort of now you just think. I mean, I know we've talked about the Incredible Hulk, but that was 8 years ago, and now you just think Hulk, Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, so he got that nerdy persona down so much. That sort of timid and meek sort of, I don't want to be part of all this sort of action. But I really enjoyed that during the interactions on the helicarrier between him and Stark, that they get on and they enjoy chatting and
they respect each other.
Yeah, he says something like, "How about why don't you come to mine and we can do stuff like it's not just I want you for this. It's that when you come around, we'll enjoy ourselves." And he literally goes and says, "Oh, you're the famous Bruce Banner. I'm a big fan of everything, including the bit where you turn into a giant rage monster."
Which unfortunately he does on that helicarrier.
Yeah,
that's a cool scene. It's when he's fighting with Thor, and you suddenly realise, right, it's not just people or things from Asgard that can challenge Thor.
This film has also got the most memorable moments as well, out of all the films, which it should do, really.
What's your most memorable?
I think it's going to be the encounter between Thor, Cap, and Iron Man in the woods.
Okay, that's
That is
interesting.
because that is the glory shot there. It's one of the many glory shots you're going to get in this film.
See, the thing that stands out for me is when they are in the Battle of New York, and the camera follows each character. So I can't remember where it starts. There's a particular point where Hawkeye fires his arrow,
Yeah,
and it follows the arrow. Then all of a sudden, I can't remember who, but the Hulk might be fighting someone, and then he will throw something or he'll jump somewhere, and all of a sudden Thor will appear, and it will jump between everyone in a single shot. I mean, obviously a lot of it's CG, but that shot is just. I can't say enough about that. It's just a fantastic.
it's great payoff, isn't it?
It's just a great piece of cinema.
Having Loki be the main villain.
Yeah. At the time, I thought he was good, but and I still do, but it seems kind of underdeveloped, and the fact he had to get help from outer space, from another dimension. You know, I mean, surely Loki has enough power, and that those sort of things of mischief that he does normally, surely that could have been used a bit more rather than just going, right, here's a massive army of things we've never seen before.
Yeah, I can see why you'd be a bit let down with that. To be honest, though, I think it made it because he has some absolutely amazing interactions. Also, another favourite of mine is when he meets Stark at the top of his tower.
Oh, what's the line that he says there? Do you remember?
I have an army, we have a Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
and it's just when he pokes him with his scepter, you know, that is just fantastic bit of comedy writing.
And of course, a bit where everyone remembers, which is like Hulk just going with Loki. That's pretty cool.
That is just he's mid rant as well. Occasionally, Marvel will subvert. They'll subvert what you're expecting very occasionally, and it does it absolutely fantastically.
You either know you're in a semi-comedic film, or you have a film with some comedic elements which are positioned really nicely.
Yeah.
Throughout.
Then we get to the fight scene, where we get to the scene. One thing I also want to say is that now it's owned by Disney, they have to be a bit more not kid friendly, but not as risky as they probably want to be. So I think this is going to come up in Age of Ultron as well. We're probably never going to get a fight scene with a lot of humans, because obviously if it's a bunch of aliens, you can just absolutely destroy them because it's not violence against people.
Yeah.
That gets brought up again when it's Ultron and it's just endless amounts of robots. You can break the arm of an alien, but it doesn't mean anything because it's not a human. That's something I've noticed in retrospect, though.
But it makes sense with the universe, because so much of what happens, and you'll see this in the Infinity War, coming from beyond the realms of Earth.
I also want to note, as a massive Cap fanboy, which I am, I'm really happy they made Cap the leader.
Yeah.
They very clearly distinguished that this guy has got he's definitely on the weaker end. He's on the civilian end of, you know, he's down there with Hawkeye and Black Widow, but he's just the guy who can pull it all together.
I mean, from what they've given us of Tony Stark, it would be completely unfair to make him the lead of the Avengers, given the interaction he has with Nick Fury before that film.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's just not a capable leader. The ending of this one it's because you get all the other post credit scene leading up to something bigger, and you end this film thinking that okay, now this is it.
Yeah.
And then you end on Thanos. That's another bit of absolutely fantastic, you know, not fan service, but just fan appeal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think I definitely do this. As soon as I find out a post-credit scene, I immediately go on Wikipedia to try and find out what's going on. And then you realise this is only going to get bigger and bigger and better.
Yeah. And hopefully the payoff is worth it, because since the Avengers came out, we've been waiting a while for those Infinity Gems to collect and for Thanos to get them in his
Thanos to get off his big space chair and do something, which he does. He eventually gets off his chair.
It's a cool chair.
So I think it's an obvious one for me. So where are you putting this?
I'm putting Avengers below Thor.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm putting it in third.
You're seriously? Yeah. Oh, I was actually going to put it first.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I will negotiate that it's not, but I'll negotiate that I'll put it above Thor, but below Captain America.
I'm happy with that.
It's not better than Thor.
So we've got Captain America number 1, We've got Avengers at number 2.
Yeah.
Did we have
Thor at number 3.
Thor at 3? I'm fine with that.
Iron Man 1 at 4.
4.
Which is harsh, really. Like I said.
Yeah, Thor and Iron Man
like
could be swapped around
I
for
think
us.
even the top 4 can be, depending on your preference of genre.
It's basically we don't like Iron Man 2 and Hulk.
Yes.
It's just
Then 5th, Iron Man 2, and 6th, The Incredible Hulk. No, sorry. 5th, The Incredible Hulk, and 6th, Iron Man 2.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Cool.
Right. Thanks for tuning in to listen to our idle discussion about films, and we'll see you all for phase 2.